Vacation season is nearly upon us. I know I'm going away soon, and I'm going to be treating myself to the luxe upgrades that I deserve with Quince's high-quality travel essentials and at fair prices. Like lightweight European linen styles from $30, washable silk tops and comfy lounge sets, with premium luggage options and stylish tote bags to carry it all. And the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Because by partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts the cost of the middleman and then passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. And I love that. My favorite right now, get the organic gauze shirt. My favorite is the Bayside stripe. Get it in that one. You're going to love it. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades that you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/KKC for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/KKC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/KKC. Looking for a new beautiful, durable, and sustainably made rug at an accessible price? You've got to check out Revival Rugs. I just swapped out my son's rug. I got an 8x10 in sweatshirt. It is so soft on your feet. And if you're a parent like me, you're going to want to check out their popular line of washable rugs because they have the same high quality look and feel as a traditional rug. If your kids or your pets get your rug dirty, you can just pop it in the washing machine and it comes out fresh and clean. And I love that. Plus, they're a sustainable company. They use eco-friendly materials, including wool, cotton, recycled denim, and recycled polyester. It's a brand you can feel good about, and they've got affordable prices so your wallet can feel good too. Visit revivalrugs.com/realitylife and use the code KateCasey20 for 20% off your first order. That's revivalrugs.com/realitylife, code KateCasey20. One more time, revivalrugs.com/realitylife with code KateCasey20 to save 20% off your order.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. And boy, do I have a story for you. Not only do I have a podcast episode for you, I have a documentary for you to watch. And then I have another podcast series for you to listen to after it. This is the story of Kat Torres. She has the Insta perfect life. She is rich, gorgeous, and not ashamed to share it. She grew up in Belém, a city in the northern region of Brazil, in total poverty. Then she began competing in beauty pageants and modeling, and later moved to the United States, where she attracted media attention, including rumors of a brief encounter with actor Leonardo DiCaprio in Cannes. She built a substantial online following, amassing over 1 million Instagram followers. Through her platform, she promoted wellness, spirituality, and self-help content, offering paid consultations and publishing a book called The Voice, in which she claimed to possess spiritual abilities. Her posts about witchcraft and alien baths drew attention, followers all chasing the dream of a lifestyle just like hers. But as she gathered more followers around her, the secrets beneath her fame grew darker and more dangerous. In 2022, 2 Brazilian women were reported missing after moving to the United States to work with Kat Torres. An FBI investigation revealed that Kat Torres had coerced these women into exploitative situations, including forced labor and sexual exploitation. Further testimonies from over 20 women alleged similar abuses, including psychological manipulation and isolation from their families. In July of 2024, she was convicted in Brazil for human trafficking and slavery and sentenced to 8 years in prison. She has appealed the conviction and maintains her innocence, claiming that the testimonies against her were fabricated. Her story is the subject of the BBC documentary Insta's Fake Guru and the Wondery podcast series Don't Cross Kat. This is a cautionary scam story surrounding social media. The lives of the rich and famous are never what they seem. Kat created a cult of personality around her Instagram lifestyle and drew in young women who wanted to become just like her. But what was happening for them on the other side isn't a dream, it's a nightmare. The story takes a sudden, drastic turn in the world of human trafficking, the worst-case scenario of what can happen when you listen to an influencer's advice. Chico Felitti is the journalist who initially broke this story, and hosted the original series in Brazil. He is a 2-time finalist of the Djibouti Prize, which is the Brazilian equivalent of a Pulitzer. He is the host of Don't Cross Cat, and in this episode, we talk about his coverage of this most interesting and terrifying story. Here is my interview with Chico. Chico, it is a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for joining me.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
This story, I think everyone in the entire world can relate to part of this story, whether it's they've been scammed or they've met someone that scammed someone on social media status or someone in their own little community. I find I'm most interested in scam stories because I've known personal scammers. What makes you interested in scam stories? Do you have something in your life that something resonates that interests you?
I think what resonates the most with me in this story is more the aspect of it of people selling lies online than a scam per se. Mm-hmm. I'm obsessed with the internet. I've been covering the internet for 20 years now. And I do think that at this point in 2025, we're starting to realize social media is a bunch of lies. Everyone's selling lies. So this is a cautionary tale of someone who was selling a lie that was so extreme that this influencer, Cat Torres, will get her followers to live with her, to move from their original countries to the US to live with her. And she was a person they only knew through Instagram. She was an avatar. She was a beautiful woman whose pictures they liked.
Yeah. In the old days, if you were a company and you were peddling lies, people could figure out pretty quickly. You know, the balance sheet doesn't work out. There's a lawsuit. But the problem with Instagram is without necessarily selling a product, you have a number of people who are just creating this brand, their own personal brand, and it can go on. The lies can go on far longer.
And there's no holding accountable. No one's held accountable for what they do on social media. But I do think there's also a broader aspect of it, which is everyone's lying online. We are lying online, even if it's not on purpose, if it's unconscious. We're lying online all the time. We're not posting our realities on social media, on Instagram or TikTok. We're posting small moments, like 50 seconds a day, which people will tend to think represent our whole lives, and they don't. So even the people who are not doing it on purpose are not scamming anyone. We've grown accustomed to a logic of lying online. Everyone's pretending to be something they're not on social media.
And also, I think that the algorithm rewards people for lies. So if you're somebody who wants to post about your real day, your posts are not going to be seen. So there's an incentive for people to exaggerate themselves.
Yeah, I think so. It's exactly that. I mean, the exaggeration is driven forward by the algorithm. Whatever is exceptional, and we do not have exceptional lives. Like 100%, 99.99% of us do not have exceptional lives. So I do think that the algorithm drives people to lying all the time to show things that are more exceptional than an average life is, and rewards them by doing so.
So how did this story first find you?
It's somewhat funny because I did come across Cat Torres prior to all the accusations when she was just a wellness influencer and lifestyle influencer and beauty influencer. And I remember seeing her for the first time and going, I get it. I've seen that. It's just another one of those, like Brazilians who moved to the US and say they made it. I would say make it, but I don't know if she had made it. She had actually made it. I mean, she achieved a couple of things which are remarkable. But I remember seeing her pictures and saying, yeah, I've seen that, not interested. And then fast forward to a couple of years later, and the Brazilian Twitter starts going crazy. First, like hundreds of people, like few people commenting that this specific influencer was trafficking her followers to the US. And then I saw her picture and I was like, oh, damn, it's the one I thought it was just another influencer. No, apparently she's not just another influencer. There's something there. And then something clicked. Something changed in my mind. And I was like, this might be a good story. This might be unique.
Need to hire someone yesterday? When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get noticed on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast by jumping to the top of the page for relevant candidates. The results speak for themselves. Sponsored jobs receive 45% more applications than non-sponsored posts. With no monthly subscriptions and no long-term contracts, you only pay for results. And speaking of results, in just the last minute, 23 hires were made on Indeed worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/WonderyUS. Just go to Indeed.com/WonderyUS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/WonderyUS. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
So her origin story that she is told is that she grew up in a very poor area and really struggled in her life. How much of that is true?
That is quite accurate, actually. That is, I've interviewed people who've known her since early age, like childhood, and she comes from a really poor family. And when I say poverty, I mean Brazilian poverty, which is different from American poverty. It's like poor, poor, poor. Mm-hmm. She was poor. They had a hard time keeping food on the table. And the world starts rewarding her and she starts hearing a lot that she's beautiful. That's the turn. That's the cat jump. That's where the cat jumps. She starts hearing a lot how beautiful she is at a very young age and she starts using her beauty and her looks to get things she wouldn't have otherwise. So she starts modeling. She leaves her house when she's still a teenager. She starts modeling. She moves to Europe. She lives in Italy. She starts dating older men who are always wealthier and very wealthy, to be precise. And she starts amassing money and fame and by using her looks, by using something that society has always noted on her. She hadn't noted it in it herself. She states, and the people around her say that she started hearing she was beautiful and Barbie-like from a very young age, and she learned how to make the best use of it because it was the only weapon she had.
Now, there are a ton of women that are beautiful, especially in that line of work. Do you think there was a sense of insecurity that she needed to differentiate herself?
I do think so. I do think that even among models and among the other groups she lived with, there was a little prejudice for her poor upbringing and her lack of study and her lack of culture. So I do think that there might have been insecurities there, and there was a drive as well. People report that she has always had such a drive for making it, and she would do whatever it took to get the money she wanted and to get the life she wanted. And finally, she gets it. Eventually, she gets it.
I know that she was obsessed with Tony Robbins. I know that she was obsessed with John of God. At what point in her life does that sort of shift where she's not just a model and an influencer, she starts to see herself as somebody who can transform other people's lives?
I do think it's a process that goes through a personal change as well. She moves from Europe to the United States, where she gets a couple of gigs as a model. She has pictures of her on Sunset Boulevard wearing a bikini. She gets a small role in the Fast and Furious music video. So, I mean, she achieved things, but not quite what she wanted or she aimed for. So Cat Torres starts attending these parties with the usage of ayahuasca and starts living amongst celebrities, famous directors, the son of one of the most Oscar-winning musicians of all times, actresses, actors, directors. And she drinks the tea. She has, how can I call them in English without being derogatory? She hallucinates and she sees God and she sees aliens. She claims to have seen God and aliens. And there is something that actually changes in her, according to her family and people who were close to her and friends from who she alienated herself from. She cut relations with her friends and she starts living to feed her soul, as she calls it. She starts living believing that she's a guru and she has a direct contact with God and the aliens and the voice. It's even hard to say. She starts telling her followers and everyone around that she's able to read minds and she's able to cure people of cancer, of the HIV virus. So, and she actually believes that, according to many people who were related to her. So she starts selling that to her audience online. And the funny thing is, she loses part of her audience because she alienates part of her audience. Mm-hmm. She gets estranged from her family and friends, but she really buys this logic and discourse. She really believes she's a witch and she can read minds and she can hear God's voice every night. So she changes from just a wellness beauty influencer to an online guru. And that's where she starts approaching her followers, all of them young women, all of them Brazilian, all from a poor upbringing, and inviting them to come and live with her in the outskirts of Austin, Texas.
Unbelievable. Well, also speaks to the fragility of the mind, because I know in the documentary on the BBC that they showed several women who talked about their own traumatic childhoods. And so if you find somebody who has lived that life and they're telling you that they have moved past it, they have the answers. There was one woman who said, I've suffered from depression. My body was really affected. And then this seemed like the answer. What do you think it was about her that differentiated herself from other people that were in that spirituality influencer space?
I would say there are three big factors in the Cat Torres effect. The first one of them is she's beautiful in a common sense way of beautiful. She's blonde, she's skinny, she's what an average person would draw if you say, draw a beautiful woman. She's a Barbie doll come to life. Mm-hmm. The second is she's a Brazilian who made it in the US, and that's huge in the Brazilian psyche. That is a big fetish. That is a big collective dream. Many Latin Americans, not just Brazilians, but Mexican, Colombian, dream of making it in America, making it in the richest country in the world. And she has achieved things. They're not all lies. I mean, she could show the footage of her in the Fast and Furious videos. She could show a picture of her on a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. That is huge for someone who's seen this from afar, from 5,000 miles away. That is really powerful. And the third factor is self-help sells. And she was selling self-help. She was reading books and she was listening to all. I don't want to have prejudice here against self-help, but yes, she would read all of the New York Times bestselling list self-help books and digest them and translate them to Portuguese and bring them to her Brazilian audience. And they work. I mean, they sell.
So how does the process begin of getting these women to travel to Texas, and then what happens afterwards?
I think there's a different approach for each one of them. So for one of them, which is Desiree, who was living in Germany, who's Brazilian, but was living in Germany at the time, she claims that Cat Torres, was depressed and needed someone to help her out. So she kind of drew Desiree in with flattery, saying, you can be my friend, you can live with me, you can help me through those dark times. With another victim called Leticia from Brazil, from a very small city in the countryside of Minas Gerais, a big state in Brazil. She offers the possibility of making money. She offers the possibility of working with her, being her personal assistant and making money. And Jamila, third victim who lived in the Boston area, and Jamila wasn't even a follower of Kat's, but Kat offered her a home because Jamila was homeless, was about to become homeless, about to be evicted, and was out of a job. So Kat offered to hire her as a yoga instructor. So she would have like a personal approach to each one of the victims.
Today, the beverage aisle looks a lot different than it used to. America's beverage companies are working together. We're delivering the options everyone wants. In fact, nearly 60% of beverages Americans buy have zero sugar. You'll find more variety than ever, including more of your favorites, now available with zero sugar. You'll also find more sizes and clear calorie information on the front of every can, bottle, and pack. We know when it comes to finding balance, the more choices, the better.
At Hotels.com, we know some travelers crave an ocean breeze. Others don't want to deal with sand. And oftentimes, those two people end up together. Compare properties side by side to find yourself poolside, oceanside, and still in a relationship. Find your perfect somewhere with Hotels.com.
And in total, how many victims do we know thus far are involved in this?
We can say that 3 Brazilian women moved to the U.S. to live with Torres, and there's a 4th woman who actually fled to the U.S. I mean, she moved to the U.S., also called Leticia, but not the same Leticia, who lived in Minas Gerais, and almost went to live with Kat, but she got cold feet when she got to the U.S. And I also get to interview her in the series, and she can say, as a personal narrative, what made her almost live with a stranger in a country that wasn't her own, and why she gave up when she was about to go and live with her in a mansion in Leander, Texas.
And how did she end up getting caught?
That is what is very fascinating about this case. She got caught thanks to armchair detectives. The Brazilian internet created a wave, and there were hundreds or thousands of young women who were investigating it by themselves, because the American police, the disappearance of the young women who went to live with Kat was reported to the Texan police, but they headed to the house, they did a wellness check, and they were like, okay, there's nothing to see here, everyone's okay. They claimed to be okay. The alleged victims claimed to be okay, said they weren't being held hostage and they weren't there against their will. But the armchair detectives all over Brazil and somewhat the Brazilian community in the US and Canada started investigating by themselves and were able to amass a level of information and awareness that made the media look at the story and then made the federal police of the US, the American federal police, look at this story again. So that's what I find peculiar and really interesting about this case.
Yes, and also we know that if it's someone's beautiful, someone's attractive, people don't typically think that this person may have done some illegality. They can't believe that someone that beautiful could do something so nefarious, right?
It's the beauty privilege. Yeah, it's real. The beauty privilege is real.
So how long did you investigate this in total?
So I investigated this case for 2 years for the Brazilian version of the podcast and an extra year for the American version called Don't Cross Cats. So I would say it sums 1,000 days, 3 years in total. And
has she or her people tried to communicate with you at all?
Yes, we do all the time. I'm close to her sister. I'm close to her lawyers, and she keep ever changing lawyers. I mean, it's only fair if we're telling someone's story. It's only fair that we have an open door for communication. So I haven't managed to interview her in person. I did so by letters, and we have her answers by letters because telephones are not allowed in Brazilian prisons, which is different from the US, and it might be useful to explain. But I did got to talk to her through letters, and she replied to my questions. And she knows I'm here. If she wants to talk, I'm available.
The one part too that I wanted to ask you about is her roommate said that she had a relationship, I think her friends and family as well, she had a relationship with a Russian oligarch for a period of time. Yes. And that she got sick and had surgery. And that after that surgery happened, that relationship ended. Why so?
It's not quite clear yet. The claims that she had a relationship with a Russian billionaire who allegedly belongs to the oligarchy seemed unlikely until I started interviewing people who were actually close to her. And her former husband, who was an American citizen, tells me she knew a lot about Russian politics. She had inside information about the Kremlin. And he was the one saying, I did not want to believe that, but the facts were quite clear. I mean, she had been close to someone. She had an affair. I mean, she claimed to have had an affair with Leonardo DiCaprio. They were photographed together in a nightclub in Cannes, in France. So I know it sounds unbelievable, but many things that happen in Cat Torres' life sound unbelievable when we're able to be verified.
Yeah. And I also wondered what she picked up from that relationship. You know, all of the little relationships that she had, the people that she met, it all sort of set the tone for the big scam, if you will. What a story. What's the one thing that still tugs at you about this story?
I do think that having the certainty of she has been convicted, so she's in jail and will be for 8 years or so, or she might be released earlier if she has good behavior. But there's a little angst in knowing that when the moment she's released from jail, she'll be back on the internet and she will be back bigger than she was before, because now people have a certain interest on her. She will become a bigger celebrity once she's free again. So that's what sticks to me about the story.
And has she apologized to the other victims at all?
No, she never recognized the crimes. She says people are lying outright. She said no one ever lived with her. And there are hundreds of pictures and videos and evidence that those people lived with her. And she claims they're lying. They want to destroy her. It's a conspiracy theory against her. Everyone's against her except her followers.
The one big downfall for her is that she's aging and she has set herself up into a business that rewards youth.
Yep.
So it will be interesting to see what happens in the years to come. And I'm sure that you will continue to watch how it all unfolds. Tell everybody where they can listen to the podcast and also where they can follow you.
Sure. Don't Cross Cat is available in all media platforms, but you can binge listen. I would say binge watch, but you can binge listen all episodes on Wondery Plus. There are a couple of extra episodes which will only be available through Wondery Plus. And you can follow me at Chico Felitti, ChicoFelitti. But I wouldn't recommend it. I'm kind of trying to quit the internet.
Well, I'm sure after this story, you feel burned out, right?
I do. I certainly do.
Yeah. You're like, I'm just going to post pictures of like a bowl of fruit or something.
My dog. I mean,
there you go.
Pictures of my dogs.
There you go.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my wonderful guest, Chico, and remind you to click subscribe. Make sure that you leave a 5-star review. Please join the Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. You can also subscribe to my What to Watch list at katecasey.substack.com. And also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at KatecaseyCA, TikTok, it's Kate Casey, Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at Kate Casey. And check back tomorrow for an all-new episode.
In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant pulls out a weapon and starts firing at him.
We're talking about the CEO of the biggest private health insurance corporation in the world.
And the suspect,
he has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione,
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was targeted, premeditated, and meant to sow terror.
I'm Jesse Weber, host of Luigi, produced by Law and Crime and Twist. This is more than a true crime investigation. We explore a uniquely American moment that could change the country forever.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Finally, maybe this would lead rich and powerful people to acknowledge the barbaric nature of our healthcare system.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.